Parliamentary registration officials are almost finished with the processing of voters' cards and say applicants can pick up their cards next week. We get the details from Janaea Noel Ferguson.
Come Monday, January 9th, registered voters will be able to collect their voter registration cards. Parliamentary Commissioner Errol Bethel disclosing the latest registration numbers.
142,112. And that would show 20,970 in Grand Bahama, 21,913 in the Family Islands, and 99,229 in New Providence. So we are just at this present time about 8,000 short of where we were at the time of the last election.
Last December, Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham forecasted that 160 to 165,000 persons are expected to register. Bethel says that the register will remain open until the day before the election writ is issued. He is urging persons to collect their cards as soon as possible.
If this is done, it will give us the opportunity to make corrections where they are necessary, to effect transfers, and to update information on the cards. At the end of the day, the aim is to have the best possible register, and all persons have a stake in ensuring the accuracy of that register.
With fewer constituencies, there are less polling divisions. In fact, 17 less than the 517 during the last election. Bethel says his office is working hard to produce the best and most accurate election possible to prevent errors that occurred in the past.
At the end of the day, the election will be as good as we make it. The best elections happen when eligible persons vote in the area where they are legally entitled to vote. We will do what we can to produce the best election possible, and we ask the public to assist us in that exercise. Let our election be a model for the rest of the world.
Detailed maps will be widely publicized to ensure that eligible voters know exactly where they should be placed. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
Now, Bethel is urging voters in the same household to double-check the information on their cards to make sure that they match, and he reminds applicants who have moved 3 months or more ago to come in for a transfer of registration. He also addressed the issue of overseas voters, saying many students and others abroad registered during the holidays.
We are shipping registration material to locations overseas, and we are making arrangements to put that amendment into effect, yes.
Now, the applications of absentee voters are expected to be processed by mid-January. Hotel occupancy levels over the Christmas holidays slightly up, and officials are hoping they continue to go up as the year progresses. President of the Bahamas Hotel Association, Stuart Bowe, talked to LaDawn Davis about where the hotel numbers stand and what the new year may bring.
President of the Bahamas Hotel Association, Stuart Bowe, says some 70% of our small hotels are owned and operated by Bahamians. And while there is no data to determine if any of those hotels have closed due to the economic recession, Bowe says the occupancy level over the holidays was pretty good.
We saw improvement over the forecast. For the month of December, we were forecasting 55%, and we finished around 59% with a slightly higher average rate.
Bowe says despite the uncertainty in the financial forecast, predictions for the hotel industry look bright.
We're cautiously optimistic. What we've seen is a positive trend line from 2009, where occupancies have risen year over year 1.1%, with slight increases in average rate. So, as mentioned, we have some optimism about 2012. The group base is back in a strong way to pre-2008 levels. That's very important for hotels because the group base is where they build the rest of the occupancy from. It's going to be very competitive as it was in 2011. Value packages are king. It's very important that the Bahamas and our hotels remain competitive.
There are at least 150 hotels here in the Bahamas. 80 of them are registered under the Bahamas Hotel Association. This year, Bowe says they can expect some new initiatives on tap to boost the hotel industry.
We continue to focus on the customer service that we continue to promote along with our promotion boards, that we continue these special events like the Battle at Atlantis, the racing series. There are opportunities in a number of the major hotels at this point. We have to ensure that contracts are signed. What is also very promising is we are seeing airlift come back. Copa Airlines came back in 2011. Since then, we've seen an 8% increase in their air traffic. JetBlue came back out of New York in November. In March next year, we expect to have Delta back.
Now, for years, there's been some complaints by Bahamians and tourists about the high cost of hotel rooms for a night or two in the Family Islands. Bo says they have been working with industry partners in an effort to provide the best affordable rates possible. Meantime, by the first quarter of 2012, Bo says the BHA plans to launch a new online system that will not only create more visibility for smaller hotels, but allow visitors from the U.S. and South America to book reservations on the internet. LaDawn Davis, ZNS News.
Members of the Bahamas National Trust and the environmental community are up in arms tonight over another case of indiscriminate dumping at one of the country's main protected zones, Bonefish Pond National Park. Our Giovanni Stewart visited the site today.
It was the big comeback for the Bamboo Shack Valley Boys on New Year's Day. Back at number 1, this time with an environmental theme, the magnificent wetlands of the Bahamas. Their depiction of Bonefish Pond National Park winning the best costume.
The Bahamas is a very, very beautiful country, and we wanted to assist the National Trust and all the other government and non-governmental agencies that are promoting the preservation of our environment, in this case, the preservation and protection of wetlands.
Chairman of the Valley Boys, Brian Adderley, on the group's strategic partnership with the Bahamas National Trust. But BNT Executive Director Eric Carey says he was alarmed to discover on Monday, just after the Valley's winning rush on Bay Street, that someone had dumped garbage, apparently from a construction site in the protected area at Bonefish National Park.
So you go from that high of seeing this thing celebrated on Bay Street, Bahamians all over seeing it on ZNS and around the world on the live streaming, and you come here and you wonder, I mean, who would do something like this, you know?
The government pumped nearly $200,000 into the wetland and wildlife park in southwest New Providence, which opened in 2010. Carey says while the park's popularity has grown as an education and adventure area, generally, incidents of dumping are down at the 27 preservation sites managed by the BNT. But he says it's clear that they'll have to redouble their efforts in 2012 to get the message out about the importance of protecting the environment.
You turn the corner here and you see this beautiful boardwalk and this beautiful environment, and even that idiot should have at least a tenth of an ounce of decency to go, boy, I really can't dump this here. But no, he doesn't, and he turns his vehicle around, dumps this right here in our parking lot, which every day has people. On weekends, there's so many Bahamians and visitors that come here, bring their kids out, enjoy our boardwalk and our observation deck.
Eric Carey says the BNT has had enough of this dumping problem, and now they're turning to the law, and they're offering a $2,000 reward for the culprit or culprits.
You know, maybe the idiot came with someone, an accomplice in the vehicle, but if the accomplice wants $2,000 to spend tomorrow, come to the National Trust, turn the idiot in, and we'll give you $2,000 cold cash. And unless we bring a couple of these people before the courts, we're going to continue to fight this battle, you know.
With your focus on the environment, I'm Giovanni Stewart, ZNS News.
As the state funeral for the country's 4th Bahamian-born Governor General Sir Clifford Darling approaches, we continue to highlight some of the contributions he's made to nation building. Tonight, we take a look at the National Insurance Board, where Sir Clifford is being hailed posthumously as a visionary leader.
His picture remains on display in the foyer at National Insurance, quietly reminding everyone of the role he played in this country's national development, namely the establishment of the National Insurance Board.
Sir Cliff he has the distinction of having been our first minister, the first minister of National Insurance. He took over as Minister of Labour and Welfare from Sir Milo Butler in 1972. It was under Sir Clifford's portfolio that the National Insurance Act was signed into law in December of 1972. It was under his portfolio that the Act and regulations were enacted and the National Insurance Program became operational.
Acting Manager of Public Relations at NIB, Pandora Butler, admits not knowing Sir Clifford personally, but declares that she knows full well the origin of the establishment. She's been an employer for more than 15 years. Sir Clifford Darling, she says, is among those early visionaries helping to establish NIB as a financial safety net for workers.
26,000, 27,000 persons every single month receive a pension from national insurance. That tells you how very important it is. I'm not even mentioning those ones who receive short-term benefits like maternity and sickness and unemployment now. But pensioners, there are people in this country who have food to eat, who pay light bill, who pay phone bill, only because of national insurance, only because of their contributions to national insurance, and then their returns from those contributions in the form of benefits every month. And not just benefits, there are persons who will never have contributed to national insurance, they never paid, but because they find themselves in a position where they're unable to take care of themselves financially, national insurance then steps in and provide assistances to them.
Butler says she and her family are forever indebted to Sir Clifford.
And people like my mom in particular, and again I get personal, they are so proud. Bahamians are proud people generally, and so they don't like asking for charity. National insurance lends dignity to our people. They don't have to beg, they don't have to ask for charity. It is an entitlement.
In 1996, the government renamed the National Insurance Board the Clifford Darling Complex in honor of a man who has contributed so much to national development. Today, it will serve as a lasting memorial. Carla Palmer, ZNS News.
Well, flags continue to fly at half staff today ahead of the service for Sir Clifford Darling. You're looking at some video from outside of the House of Assembly, a live shot there where the final viewings took place today ahead of tomorrow's funeral service, which again starts at 11 a.m. Now, there are some traffic considerations ahead of the funeral service tomorrow. We can tell you that when the service is completed, Sir Clifford's body will be taken in procession west on Shirley Street to Princess Street, west on Princess Street to Duke Street, and west on Duke Street to Cumberland Street, and north on Cumberland to Marlborough Street. The procession will continue along west on Marlborough Street to West Bay Street, and west along West Bay Street to Nassau Street, traveling in a southern direction into the Western Cemetery, where his body will be interred. The public is advised that several road closures will be in place to accommodate the procession. Of course, police officers will be in place to guide that process.
Welcome to tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Let's take a look at what's making business news today. The Bahamas International Securities Exchange, BISX, is looking to kick off its long-planned micro-listing facility during the first quarter of this new year. According to a local daily, this will happen with investment bankers anticipating the Bahamian capital markets could see at least another $100 million in offerings this year. BISX's Chief Executive Officer, Keith Davies, told the local daily that a micro-listing facility targeting small and medium-sized Bahamian businesses typically seeking $1 million or less in financing was likely something these companies were seeking given the current state of the economy. SuperValue Food Store's chief Rupert Roberts expecting continued success for his food store chain in the new year. Roberts predicted to Fidelity Business improvement in the national economy this year because of the activity boom here in New Providence. While the majority of his New Providence-based stores are faring well, Roberts did lament, though, that the Blue Hill and Robinson Road stores had serious disruptions last year with roadworks, although now things have returned to normal. It seems as though the Bahamas' real estate business is going international again. A young professional couple who recently relocated to Nassau is searching for the perfect beachfront home or condo, and the popular American TV series House Hunters International came to the rescue, with ERA Depuch agent Kyla Ralston leading the way. A release from the real estate agency acknowledged that the couple had just moved to Nassau from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates and were excited about starting new jobs here in Nassau, but were apprehensive about what properties they could find to match their high standards and expectations in a rental property. Ralston, who was handpicked by House Hunters International producers, identified 3 apartments that matched the couple's budget and their wish list. The perfect apartment turned out to be the very one the couple spotted the first time. The House Hunters International episode, filmed here in Nassau last month, will be aired this spring. From the international business scene, believe it or not, the United States holds a disproportionate amount of the world's rich people. According to CNN Money Online, calculations from a World Bank economist stated that it takes $34,000 a year after taxes to be among the richest 1% in the world. About half of them, that's 29 million people, live in the United States. Another 4 million live in Germany. The remainder are mainly scattered throughout Europe, Latin America, and a few Asian countries. In regional business, Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar is in India this week on a historic 2-week state visit called Trinidad and Tobago India 2012, Partnering for Diversification, Innovation, and Investment. The bilateral state visit is set to engage several private and public sector companies and agencies from Trinidad and Tobago in discussions targeted to attract investment and technical cooperation there. The state visit to India aims to capitalize on Trinidad and Tobago's favorable investment climate and ideal geographic position as a gateway to Caribbean, Latin America, and European markets. Remember, you can send us an email or join us on www.znsbahamas.com or become our friend on ZNS's official Facebook page.
And that will end tonight's edition of the Business Beat, sponsored by Royal Fidelity. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Altaviz Munnings.